Well, why don't we talk a little bit about what it was like to work together, father and son, and then if you both could talk about that experience. I noticed in the film that there's a really heartwarming aspect and that you're a close family, so I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay. Well, it was fun for me, I think, firstly, because I got to go for 2 weeks to a really distant land with Jody, and that was fun. We don't get to spend that much time together anymore. So being around each other all day for 2 weeks was really great. And of course, Taylor as well, and the whole crew. Since I didn't really bring a crew of my own, technical crew, they were like my technical crew, although they were busy making a movie. I still had their support, so it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, for me it was great to, just not. I mean, making the movie was challenging and intense, but also just to be able to see him do those concerts in the Philippines and actually, take the time away from the movie to just sit in the audience and just appreciate the fact that I was on this trip as a fan and as a family member as well as working, but not to let the movie get in the way of just saying, oh wow, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I'm watching my dad do these concerts, so it was
So
fun.
was this the first time that you really had an opportunity to see your dad perform in that type of setting?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there were little things here and there over the years where he would, do a song or kind of do a performance, but nothing of that scale, nothing of that intensity and that sort of, size, especially that final show, which was for like, some, I don't know, 10,000 people or something, yeah.
Now in the film, it talked about how many years in the making this tour was. Could you talk a little bit about that, about when the promoter
Sure.
reached out to you and how he eventually convinced you, or your family convinced you
To do it,
take this
yeah.
opportunity?
Well, as I think we said, or we said in the film, the album, my one and only solo record as a singer-songwriter, was made in 1972 and released in that same year. And I would say within a matter of a couple of years it was successful in the Philippines. Took some time to ferment and kind of stick over there, but by the late 70s, he had approached me to come over there and tour. And though I wasn't exactly making note of when it was on each occasion that he followed up with me to try to get me again, it seemed like every 5-7 years he would appear, either in person or on the phone or a letter, or later on an email, asking me to consider coming over. And each time he approached me, I always treated the offer seriously. I always thought about it. I always entertained the idea because I thought it would be interesting to consider. But in all the cases before we finally said yes, I thought it would be more disruptive than useful. Somehow I thought, I'm too busy now. I'm making records with so-and-so. I have an album I'm due to start on this date, and to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks off, form a band, rehearse songs, get on planes, go over there, do a tour for whatever length of time, come back. I thought, for what? Where is that leading? And it wasn't important enough earlier on to me to make the commitment to do it. But this time it was, for different reasons, and the movie goes into those reasons, I think, fairly well.
Perseverance pays, I guess, for everyone.
I also think, the interesting thing that we sort of discovered at the end of the filmmaking process and at the end of the sort of journey of the film is that here was this offer that was coming to him that seemed to be so insignificant over the years, this go to the Philippines, and what am I going to go to the Philippines for? And yet the movie sort of shows that this thing in life that sometimes you could kind of blow off or think is sort of, not really part of what else is happening in your life ends up being something super important, because without that tour, none of this would be happening. Without that tour, without that album he made back then, we wouldn't be sitting here. He wouldn't have have, you know, reconnected with his past and his music, and yet that thing over the years was like, you know, a minor blip on the radar, you know, just a crazy lark that was always floating out there that you think you could just blow off, but it ended up being a really important thing for your, you know, his journey and subsequently mine and the producers of the film and the people that worked on the film.
Let's talk about the now, because there are a million questions that I could ask you about your past, and maybe we'll touch on that. But I'm curious about the now. If you're working with any up and coming songwriters, if they knock on your door, what you're thinking about going forward from here. I know you said something about the Boca Raton club, but do you see yourself performing on a more regular basis now, or getting back into the game, if you will?
I think so. I mean, this has opened up some interesting new doors. Live performing, which I think is a wonderful way to present all the music I've been involved with over the years in one way or another. And I think I can put together for different venues or different style tours or shows, a slightly different show that is built for a particular kind of audience. So for example, if I do something in a residency in Boca where I live, it'll be for a slightly older, more affluent audience member, and it'll have a little more theatricality as part of the show. If I go out and do what we did at the Viper Room, you know, where I can legitimately put a band together as we did and just go out and sing the songs with a certain degree of commitment to them and a little bit less of the fluff around it, I can do that as well. So I think we're going to look at all the opportunities that may come our way to do live performances. And then in the interim, if some project comes along that really interests me, and if suddenly there is a renewed interest in me and who I am, what I've done, what I can do, and I'm approached to write songs with or for someone, produce some part of an album, I'll certainly consider it.
Yeah, I noticed that you worked with Tupac and Ziggy Marley, and I to me that was indicating that there is this new wave of artists who want to work with you, and so I was wondering if that was a good experience, and if you're looking.
Tupac doesn't want to work with him right now.
Well, yeah, I love the best of what's going on in music now. I always did. I mean, I always found that there was plenty to like and plenty of good reason to like lots of the music. So when people complain, it's usually a sort of a sign that they're not paying the kind of attention that they might have when they were younger, because I still listen and I still find things that I like, and I think it's the same thing, same underlying motivations for why it's successful, why it was a good song, why, you know, things Beyonce has had success with, or things that bands I like that are current, you know, are having success with. There's something about the songs, there's common denominators in the tunes that were in my songs.
What makes a great song?
Well, it's a lot of things, but I think if you really want to put it in the simplest terms, it's when the marriage of the music and the lyrics press all the right emotional buttons in the listener. And it's the way the words sit on the notes. You can't split them out, you know? I mean, you can say, oh, that's a wonderful lyric taken by itself, or that's a great melody, but it's what happens when they merge that makes a song really special. And there's something about that chemistry that